I recently suggested the Major Fitness F22 as a good starter option within the highly saturated, budget, all-in-one functional trainer and power rack category. However, today, looks like Major Fitness is back again, and this time competing with themselves with the Drone 1. It's an Amazon exclusive Major Fitness release. It essentially brings the same functionality of the F22 with a dual-sided functional trainer, landmine, low row, pull-up bar, spotter arms, etc. But this time, they made a few quality of life updates and it's half the price. It only costs $500 for all this functionality. How does this even make sense? Is this even possible? Let's check it out. Hey guys, this is Michael with the Jungle Gym Reviews. Today we're reviewing the newly released Major Fitness Drone 1. It's a part of their Amazon exclusive product line, so it's not available on their website. You heard me right earlier, it's pretty much a half-priced version of the F22 rack that I reviewed in the past. You can check out the link in the description for my previous full review of that product. This drone here retains nearly the same versatility by still using a built-in dual pulley system functional trainer, but instead of individual weight stacks that you have to load on each side separately, this one has a singular center-mounted, plate-loaded weight stack plopped right into the back of the rack. It basically centralizes the weight stack, and then it adds more rack stability. In addition to incentivizing the price, instead of spotter arms outside the rack, this rack here features flip-down safety spotters on the inside. So when you're doing your barbell movements, you're lifting inside the rack like a true power rack or power cage configuration. The other big highlight of this rack is that it's a 2x2 with 1-inch holes, so it adds even more compatibility for aftermarket attachments from other companies. Also out of the box, it includes a multi-grip pull-up bar and a bunch of cable attachments, weightlifting accessories to get you started. Pretty much everything you need coming together to create a cheap but pretty sweet home gym package to get you started for sure. As I mentioned before, there's one singular center-mounted pulley weight stack and guide rod system that supplies both sides for the functional trainer. It has a 2-to-1 pulley ratio. Obviously, if you're using both sides, you're splitting the weight in half with the other side. The holes on the uprights are 1-inch diameter, which means they can fit attachments from a variety of other brands, although Major Fitness does have an entire line of their own well-thought-out attachments that you can add to this rack. You can order from their website things like weight storage, lateral raise machine, lever arms, a leg holder for lat pull-down, an upgrade to this rack's functional trainer to a fully selectorized 170-pound weight stack, and a few other things. So again, just know that when you buy this rack, you have plenty of attachment options to suit your needs. Not only that, but then you can use parts from other companies like Rep and Titan and a bunch of others that make this 2x2 rack with 1-inch holes because it's a pretty universal upright size and hole diameter. For those who want the let's get the most amount of functionality I can get for $500, but I don't care about it being the best all around, this right here hits exactly that category and is the appeal of a cheap yet capable rack. So let's go over some of the details quickly. Total dimensions are 86-inch tall, 64-inch wide, 66-inch front to back. That does include the band bags and the low row footplate, so you don't need to factor in extra space for those. Also, since you load the weight stack from the middle of the rack, you don't have to walk around or create room on the outside. You just walk right into the rack and load up those weight horns. A quick mention on the height, you probably do want a few more inches of ceiling clearance to accommodate your head doing pull-ups, although alternatively you could mount the pull-up bar upside down to save about 4 inches of ceiling clearance. Again, since this rack uses safety spotter arms, they lock with a D10 pin, and the big advertising point with this rack can actually handle at least 500 pounds in a dynamic true drop test. Being the engineer I am, I immediately was contemplating how to roll even more weight, let's say 600 pounds on a barbell, and do my own drop test in my driveway, but when trying to plan the logistics to stay alive, my wife simply said, I don't want to be a part of that. So probably smartly, I stopped my train of thought there. One of these days, I'm going to get more reckless when I can collect both enough weight plates and a barbell and a rack I truly don't care about damaging. Coming back to the rack specs, of all the capacities, one thing to be aware of is actually the cable loading capacity, which is listed at 300 pounds static load. So I assume that means dynamically is some percentage, maybe equating to 200, 250 pounds dynamically, if I had to guess. So just know if you're planning to consistently load this thing over 200 pounds over a long period of time, that's probably going to be the bottleneck capability, especially long term. Lastly, in case people are interested in the specific height settings, the adjustable range from the cables is adjustable from 12 inches at the lowest height to 74 inches at the highest. This is the measurement of the actual cable starting point, not where the pulleys are located. The spacing for the cable height adjustments is every 10 centimeters within this range, and the spacing between the 1-inch attachment holes on the front of the rack is approximately 3.5 inches on center. So quickly, just to go over the full functionality of the rack, it's your typical power rack, so you can do all your barbell-based movements like squat and bench press. And even though it's a single weight trolley, it's still a dual-sided functional trainer again, so you can do all the endless functional trainer movements on either side individually or together. The included multi-grip pull-up bar is nice to be able to add variation to your pull-ups, but really you only have one neutral grip option, so don't expect groundbreaking ways to use it there. But it works, and it's nicer than just having a single straight bar for pull-ups anyways. Major Fitness does also include a set of dip bars for dips, which is nice. I personally actually have some tendonitis in my elbow, coincidentally started from deep weighted dips. So personally, I don't do dips anymore just because of minor years of PTSD, but out of the box, just know you can do some dips, and it's a great included movement and functionality that they have with the rack here, so that's nice. As I mentioned prior, you can do all the single-sided movements just fine. The included low row foot plate allows for easy switch and set up to those, and then you can do lat pull downs as well. But as with any setup doing lat pull downs from the floor, it becomes hard to keep your torso on the ground when you can lift more weight than your body weight. But you can be creative in finding a solution to hold you down, find an aftermarket solution, or just buy their leg holder attachment from their website for about 90 bucks. One last point I wanted to mention is the rack also has a built-in landmine post attached to the rack, so that's just another avenue of movements and versatility you can add to your workouts. This also really allows you to work out if you want with multiple people, or even just set up 2 or more exercises to do things like circuit training or supersetting between some barbell, cable, or landmine movements quickly. So overall, the Major Fitness drone is a decent rack that can do a lot of things, and its selling point is really just the low price per amount of movements and capability that this rack overall offers. You can do traditional strength training, you can do circuit training, you can use bands wrapped around the included band pegs on the rack, you name it. If I were buying this, I'd probably grab a couple pairs of weight plate holders so you can store plates on the rack, and then more plates mounted on the rack just makes everything more stable as well. This rack overall is not really what I would consider a buy it for life option, I would say, but if you're someone who wants to start a home gym, wants a little bit of everything, who maybe doesn't want to have to do a bunch of research and piecing a bunch of parts together, or definitely someone who just wants to save money, this is it. This gets you something that works, and this rack is for you. Lastly, if you want some examples of alternate options or a more comprehensive list of rack sizing, options, my recommendations, check out that section from the previous Major Fitness F22 review. Again, link in the description. So I do have a couple things to mention as far as things I didn't like or ways I think the rack could be better, but none of them are deal breakers for me, especially at this price. It's such a low price for the item this large. It's a rack, it's a functional trainer, and obviously there are going to be trade-offs and limitations to the overall quality and some of the movements that you can do. First off, the cables and the pulleys that come by default are not the smoothest, although you can upgrade to an aluminum pulleys and purchase those on the Major Fitness website for about 160 bucks. I think that's just a small investment for any home gym user, and it'll make it feel much better and definitely make things smoother. So if I were a long-term owner of this machine, I would definitely consider that. The original pulleys get the job done, but compared to the 5 other functional trainer or pulley setups I have here in my gym, yes, I have a problem. Rep PR 5000 lat pull down, Inspire SF3 trainer, Dial Motion Ibex, Mikolo Falcon functional trainer, and this drone one, this one's the least smooth out of all of them, but I would expect that for the price range. Again, I would say if you plan to use cables as your primary training method, I would generally advise you to consider a dedicated functional trainer because it's typically going to be more smooth and easy to use, but immediately we're talking about a minimum of a 2x price jump at that point for only one functionality, meaning one type of machine rather than a rack too. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to this all-in-one, which includes a power rack, pull-up bar, etc. Another thing I want to point out is that it's slightly awkward to load the weight horns due to the cables in the rear of the rack as they limit the width of space you have to get the plates on the weight horns. That along with the location of the rear floor cross members mean you kind of have to reach out a little bit of ways from your center of gravity to load and unload. And with 45-pound plates, it gets a little awkward just putting those in front of you. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but just know you have about 6 inches of clearance left to right when you put your weight plates and slide them on and off of the angled weight loading horns. Lastly, Major Fitness advertises that you can do everything inside the rack, which is mostly the case. However, everyone knows the one movement exception to that typically is incline barbell benching, because when your bench is at any moderate incline position, the feet of the bench hit the back of the rack. Here, it is exactly the case as well. The rear feet of the bench hit the rear cross member, so you can't even line up remotely underneath the bar. Again, not a big deal. You simply just move the J-cups to the front post of the rack when you want to do incline bench. but then you don't have spotters for that movement, so just be aware of that as well. Other than that, everything is on the lighter and cheaper side for fit and finish and overall functionality. But again, really, that's the overall trade-off you get having to pack all of this in for $500. Potential buyers should know this, Major Fitness knows this, and that's why they focused on things you just need to get a good workout in. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or if something like this is interesting to you, or what would you even consider as an alternative in this ultra budget, multifunctional, all-in-one rack category. Thank you for checking out this review of the Major Fitness Drone 1. If you have any questions on this product, suggestions for future reviews, or anything like that, please comment down below. I'll be happy to answer or at least try. Thank you for tuning in to the Jungle Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.